Madam President, this afternoon I spoke about how important it was to pass that extender bill, how important it was for my state and for the rest of the country to promote green jobs, to look at this new energy future, to stop spending $600,000 a minute on foreign oil, and how easy it would have been. But as I said this afternoon, we only got 4 Republicans to vote with us on a bill that was paid for, a bill that was the right way to go. Only 4 Republicans. But you know what, Madam President? There was something else in that bill that is just as important to me and to my state of Minnesota and to the millions of people living in the shadow of mental illness, and that is the Paul Wellstone mental health parity bill that is included in that package. And we have tried to pass this through the Senate over and over again. Senator Domenici, the other side of the aisle, has been one of the big supporters and sponsors of this bill. Senator Kennedy has worked on it. Senator Durbin has worked on it. And there are many people in the House, Patrick Kennedy, as well as one of my favorite Republican Congressman, Jim Ramstad, who is retiring this year, and he doesn't want to leave the House until that bill gets done. But for me, the Paul Wellstone mental health parity bill is about Paul Wellstone. It's about everything he stood for, about fighting for the people that didn't have a voice. It's about all the people that have come up to me in the Capitol, not the senators, but the secretaries and the tram drivers that remember Paul, that remember how kind he was to them. This bill is about his brother Stephen, who struggled with mental illness his whole life. And Paul would always talk about how that house that they grew up in was always dark because of Stephen's mental illness, and how after Stephen got better and went on to teach, what a difference it made in their family, but it was a lifelong struggle for him. So this bill is for Paul. And when Paul was alive, our friends on the other side of the aisle said that they wanted to pass this bill. And when Paul died, they said that they wanted to pass this bill. Well, this is the time, and it was a part of that package. It was a part of that package, and Senator Kennedy, home, watching everything that goes on in this chamber, wants to get that done. And Paul Wellstone's son David has been here day after day, walking the halls of the Capitol, knocking on doors, trying to do this for his father's memory. That bill was in that extender package. So I just implore my friends on the other side of the aisle that we get this done.
If Senator from Minnesota would yield for a question. I served with Senator Paul Wellstone of Minnesota, who passed away 6 years ago, just weeks before the election, and his wife Sheila and daughter and several staff members, pilot and co-pilot, were lost in that plane crash, and I attended that memorial service for him at the University of Minnesota. And I will just tell you something, that he had such passion for so many issues, but the one thing that meant more to him than anything was this mental health parity bill. And I am saddened that 6 years later we still haven't passed it. Today we tried and only had 4 Republicans come join us and vote for it. But I hope the senator from Minnesota feels as I do, that we need to pass the Wellstone mental health parity bill and make no excuses, find no alternatives other than to make sure that it is named in his memory for the man who started us down this road and whose journey needs to be finished by us today. I'm glad the senator from Minnesota is here to be part of that journey, and I hope she feels as I do that this Wellstone mental health parity bill should be the highest priority before we adjourn this year. And since I need to ask a question, I would just ask her if she agrees with me.
Well, thank you very much, Senator Durbin, for that question. And I know from his family, those that he left behind that miss him so much, that this is what he wanted to get done, and he would talk about it so much. I actually remember, Senator from Illinois, the last time that I saw Paul Wellstone before he went down in that tragic plane crash, and it was at an event for new citizens, and Sheila, his wife, was supposed to be there. The two of us were talking about our families and our immigrant families and where they came from and how they pulled themselves up, and funny stories about our families in Appalachia. And there we were, there was about 30 new citizens and no press, no cameras, and all of a sudden, by surprise, in walked Paul. And you know, here we were 4 weeks before one of the biggest elections in the country, and he was in that room with those new citizens. And I always knew there were 2 reasons that he was there. One, because he loved Sheila and he wanted to surprise her. But the second reason was that he embraced this idea that no matter where you came from, no matter what you'd gone through in your life, that you could pull yourself up in this country. And that was part of why this mental health parity bill was so important to him, because he'd seen in his own family how his brother struggled with mental illness, and he was able to pull himself up because his family was there and they had to sell everything. It was a horrible financial situation for their family, and he didn't want to have that happen to someone else. And he felt that if you had coverage for physical illnesses, that you should also have coverage for mental illnesses. So this bill, this mental health parity bill, was what Paul wanted to get done. And as I know the majority leader and others have said, the other side of the aisle, they said they'd pass it when he was alive, and they said that they'd pass it when he died, and this is their chance. Thank you very much, and thank you, Madam President. I yield the floor.